Mo, your thoughts on last night's draft?
Well, for the Bengals, I'm happy about the player. I'm excited about A.J. Green. I'm happy he's the guy they went with. If you were to take all the players they were likely to sort through with the fourth overall pick, A.J. Green was the guy I preferred. He is something they don't have a lot of. He's a playmaker. He can pick up some yards after the catch. This team has been woefully short on yards after the catch over the last couple of years. And so they got a guy who fits what they need. And you could have argued for a lot of guys at a lot of different positions. This team needed guys who can do something with the football, and A.J. Green, according to all the experts, is that guy. And as I've said all week, this team has tried to draft wideouts later in the draft. They've tried the free agency route. It hasn't worked. You might as well go with an elite level guy, a guy who some think is one of the best two players in the entire draft. And so while I'm happy with the player, I can't help but think about that trade reportedly offered up by the Atlanta Falcons. If the Falcons offered the Bengals what the Cleveland Browns were able to get, here's what the Bengals could have done. Slid down to 27th and maybe drafted Andy Dalton or a quarterback. They then would have had 2 second-round picks, and think ahead to next year. They would have had 2 first-round picks. One of those could have been a bargaining chip in a trade for a potential free agent quarterback, or you might have just had an opportunity to stockpile 2 first-round picks. You would have had a grand total of 19 draft choices between this year's draft and next year's draft on a team that has holes all over the place, on a team whose rebuilding project is going to take more than 1 year. And so if it was me, I probably would have taken the trade. That said, I'm happy with A.J. Green. I'm happy with the player. I just think the Bengals would have been best served by going with quantity over quality. I said at the top of this draft, especially in the first round, it was almost Bengal-proof. They couldn't screw it up. And ultimately, if you're deciding between taking the best wide receiver in the draft and adding more picks, you're in a pretty good situation. It's really hard to say that they royally butchered it, because I don't think they did. They ended up getting the player that most of us wanted, and a guy who most seem to think is going to be able to help this offense, which is in bad need of help. But this team is in bad need of bodies, in bad need of players. My preference would have been for the Bengals to get more of those by stockpiling draft picks, a tried and true method used by the New England Patriots, and while the dynamics are completely different, if it's good enough for the New England Patriots, it should be good enough for the Bengals. That said, A.J. Green's a Bengal. I can live with that. Email me, mo@espn1530.com. Send me a tweet at moegger1530.